We're back at the Sleeping Grush Inn. There's a cozy roaring fire in the fireplace, mugs of fine drink on the table, and bowls of steaming stew in front of us. Welcome one, welcome all. Pull up a seat and let's hear a tale of your adventures in Phalon. I'm Lore Master Matt.
And I'm Phalon John.
And welcome to episode 25 of the Sleeping Grush podcast.
25.
Yeah.
Silver? What's the 25th anniversary?
I should know.
Scissors? I don't even remember.
But I think it's silver.
Silver.
Got a lot to cover. We've just brought out episode 24 a couple days before we're recording this. Hope you guys are enjoying that. If you have any comments or questions, please post those in the Sleeping Grush channel on Discord. We are brought to you today by the Cardboard Corner Cafe, where their November specials are the Chicken Bacon Ranch Dip, the Pumpkin Spice Waffle, and the Thanksgiving Leftovers.
I had those earlier. I had the Thanksgiving leftovers earlier.
How was that?
Cranberry sauce. The waffle is like basically a stuffing waffle.
Ooh.
Mashed potatoes, turkey bits. It wasn't like turkey, it was all chopped up, right?
Right.
Gravy, cranberry sauce.
Nice.
What's not to like, right?
That's awesome. Might have to get me one of those.
Yeah, it was good.
And we're also, what's really cool about Cardboard Corner Cafe is that it is right next door in the Overland Park location, right next door to our flagship, FLGS, which is Tabletop Game and Hobby, which has been here. I've been going to Tabletop for a long time, probably since I was 18, which is longer than I need to say. We've been going here for a long time. It's a great store, great staff, great selection, just about anything you'd want for your hobby time. So if you are in Kansas City, stop by Cardboard Corner Cafe and Tabletop Game and Hobby. You will not be sorry.
Not be sorry.
All right. So, John, what have you got on your table this week?
On my paint table, well, I have things I can't talk about, right? I have models from the Adepticon 25 release.
Nice, which we'll be talking about a little bit later.
So we can bring those back up. They've been built and primed, and then we're starting to paint.
Sweet.
And I'm taking cues from the concept art in terms of the dress up. And then a model I'm just finishing up for my Secret Santa, which I need to finish up like tonight, tomorrow to get it in the mail before Kevin barks at me. So I have a Secret Santa model also, and then there's other sort of conversions and repairs lying around. A repair of a Deckless Ravager.
Oh, nice.
Right, yeah, it got dinged somewhere. We were kind of fat-handed in our gameplay. So I am. I don't know about we is wrong.
Well, no, we is correct.
Yeah. So he got a ding somewhere along the way, and so I was repairing it. But it's interesting because right now I have a Dark Road Freeblade I really like playing, and my Ruin, and they're all done. So I'm not adding anything to existing ones. I'm trying to get a little bit ahead of the game. And my Secret Santa came in.
Oh, nice.
And I'm going to thank the person, but the problem is I got to find out who it is from Kevin because there was some water stain to the return address. And I can't read it. So this wonderful person sent me an Azura Hailstorm.
Nice.
And I'm going to thank them personally when I talk to Kevin. I'll get the name. And I had a Storm Speaker is also
sweet
on my paint table, and the start of my own Azura Freeblade. I played them in the playtest for proxies. Don't have my own painted yet. So that came in really handy. That was a Hailstorm. That's one less model.
You have to remedy that.
Yeah. So, yes.
Fantastic.
So, yep. Do I have a battle report in Freeblades? You're going to do the battle report.
I'm doing the battle report today. Yes, sir. So,
Matt Gooch played a game of Freeblades.
I did. Now,
I love it.
But I want to talk about a game of Brightsword that I played a while back instead of a Freeblades.
The one that was here or a different one?
Yeah, the one that was here.
That was so fun.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I want to do that because we don't talk enough about Brightsword.
We don't.
I don't think. And that's something that we're going to remedy. And there's some stuff for Brightsword that's coming up, and we're going to have Jeff on to talk about that a little bit later in the month. But we had this great game of Brightsword. It turned into basically a one-off, where we had a couple of guys that were coming into a harbor, and they had to locate a person that did not want to be found by the Trazerites, right?
Yeah.
So they had to figure out who it was they were delivering this special cargo to, and they didn't know, of course, what that was. And it was a really fun game. There was a lot of room for role play. There was some room for fighting. So it was one of those games that came off really, really well.
I'm allergic to our producer, apparently.
I think we all are.
I'm back. It's all good. All right. So is this the group, the party, the adventuring party is coming into the harbor?
Yes.
They've got to get something to a person.
They're on a ship that has been assigned to deliver this freight to a person on dockside.
Is this related to a game we're going to see again this spring?
It is, as a matter of fact.
Nice. Okay.
And that's where the idea actually came from.
Because it looked great. I mean, I was not playing in it. Matt's describing a Brightsword session that took place here at Tabletop in Cardboard Corner. And I was next table over playing Freeblades or doing something else and watching Matt run this game.
Yeah.
And boy, it was a hoot. They were all laughing up and enjoying it and playing interacting with the NPCs and epic stuff happened, So the terrain was beautiful. Everything looked great.
It's a lot of fun. Exactly what Brightsword's supposed to be. Very engaging, a lot of role play. It was a lot of fun. All right. So
before we leave Brightsword, though,
sure.
One of the reasons why we don't talk about it is because there is so much content being done behind the scenes of the company right now for Brightsword.
Right.
And we've also decided that eventually we do not want to have it rely on a living rulebook. We want to provide a core rulebook that has art, and is something tangible that players can have.
Sure.
And so, being part of the playtest of all that and working with Jeff, I'm running my own playtest group of Brightsword Adventurers. The amount of things that we're adding to the game and doing to improve the game is more than is contained by the game. It's just better, it's just so much better. But the trouble is it's kind of all in sort of various stages of completion. If we can't just put it all together and release it, and as I think we're going to talk about here in a minute, there's so many other things going on. They all kind of have to fall into a certain order, which I think we'll try to make clear as we're talking. And so we're just asking for people's patience. I mean, it's amazing, and you're going to love it. And we're desperate to get it out there, but one thing has to follow another to make it come out.
That's right. That's right.
So
we want it to be as complete as possible too, and that's something that we're working on. And Jeff's working very hard, and we're going to let him talk to that when we have him on in December to do a whole episode about Brightsword.
Cool.
So, all right. So we are just a few days out from the Black Friday event, which is going to be huge for us, and we talked about that in the last episode. The Thelonian celebration of Halaresh is right after that, which is the winter solstice. And we're going to talk a little bit about what's coming up for that. And then we also have, of course, our Christmas celebrations and then the New Year. And with the New Year, we've got kind of a new dawn of DGS games coming. There's just so much going.
So true.
There's been a lot of big changes with DGS in this last part of 2024. One of the largest ones has been your retirement.
Did I miss that in the notes that we were going to talk about?
You did. How is
clever?
How is this going to push DGS forward? What role are you assuming now that that you're not going to your
job? So the issue is that, and I think most of our fans know this, that we're a company that's the members of the company are not full time.
Right.
Everybody's a part timer. It's a labor of love. We all are resolved to make it a no kidding full time profitable. It's profitable, not profitable enough, right? It's sustainable. It's not profitable. Yes. So, and so we want to have it where, certain things have to happen. Where I'm sure we're going to talk about as we go along. Going back into distribution is one of them.
Yes.
There's a lot of things that are involved there. Expanding the business model, all we're going to talk about. But having recently retired, I am the first full-time employee of DGS. Now, not today. I kind of screwed up today. Matt Buddy can attest to, but even tonight, we're doing a play test of Teardown, which we're going to talk about. So it allows me to devote my whole day and to both rules writing and fiction writing, creating content. And it hasn't really kicked all the way off yet. I've had some successes. I'm still wrapping up certain things. I immediately retired, went to the reunion after that, just got back from that. It's a Thanksgiving holiday. We're going home, with my parents. So the routine is just starting to develop, but I can feel it.
Right.
Where these things that are kind of like stacked up and you're choosing triage. You're going, oh my gosh, I really want to be working on X, but A, B, C are in front of it. Or Julian's going to be pissed.
They're on fire.
Right. Yeah, that's right. They're lit on fire. So we are at least partially out of survival mode with that and into we can actually develop the content we do, which is why we feel we were able to sign up for some of the things we said we're going to do this year.
Right.
Right. So it's a pleasure to be at that full time. I checked my service to the nation block, so I'm ready to move on to that. So we should see an acceleration in content development. I would really like to think that's true. Otherwise, I'm down here playing games with Matt all day. Which is
not a bad way to spend
not
retirement.
The worst thing in the world. So I think that especially after the new year, especially with the kickoff of NRC, you're going to see an increase.
Yeah.
In the amount of things developed, not daily, small time basis, but also larger projects. Yeah, and it's allowing us to truly split. I'm going to take one of the things is I'm going to take Freeblades back. Colin's going to work on Shadowed Streets full time. Jeff's Brightsword full time, and then we back each other up. And they're in our design lead. Jeff and I help Colin. Jeff helped me. So, and it's allowing us to finally really get after opening it. On Shadow Street's playtest is really, yeah. Geez, those guys are running them ragged. We were talking about, the return of Freeblades to me being sometime in the next, X months, weeks, whatever. I think after the last 2 days on Discord, Colin's going to come back to me and go, could you take it now? And I will. I mean, that's one of the advantages.
Sure.
Right? I can say that now. Yeah, I'll do the rules channel for Freeblades. Because OSS is going to be a full-time job. It's super popular, which we want it to be.
That's exactly right.
It's really okay with me if it's more popular than Freeblades. I mean, if that's the way it turns out, let's reinforce success. Let's go.
I was having a conversation with Jacob Metzinger today about creating a board for OSS to have for playtest down here.
Right. Yeah, and I have a whole bunch on Shadow Streets. For those who don't know, skirmish game with significant elements of the supernatural in a today setting, in a contemporary setting.
Urban fantasy.
Yeah. With our own take, our own world, Colin's own world, he's the lead. And, people really take to that sort of thing. That's kind of a niche there. It's not as addressed as fully as maybe it could be. So we're going to take advantage of that.
Sure.
And, I just think it's a thing that in the greater scheme of things, miniatures players would rather shoot a gun than stab somebody with a sword. It just seems like that.
It does. Right? We're going to find out.
We're going to find out because we're going to give you an opportunity to do both. And if you throw your weight behind OSS, that's a good day. And if you throw your weight behind Freeblades, also a good day.
That's
and
right.
Freeblades isn't going anywhere but up.
That's right.
It's not like the only reason we're doing OSS is because we have a sustainable ability to do both at the same time.
That's right. Yeah, I was looking at the production schedule for Freeblades today to answer a couple of questions from our Patreon subscribers. And you're right. It's not going anywhere but up. It's just booming.
I am taking all those stat lines back. Post-Adepticon, the boss of those stat lines is me. So,
that's right.
Jeff's going to have to negotiate for his next weird creature. I really want to do a guy from outer space. I don't know so sure. So anyway.
All right. So we've got one more big thing coming up in the end of 2024 besides our Black Friday event, and that's Holorush. So just really quick, because we're going to do a whole podcast on Holorush a little later down the road. So just give us a quick rundown, and let's talk about what we're doing for Holorush this year.
Well, we're writing stories.
That's right.
Yeah. Remind me which one's mine?
You're writing the breakdown of the beginning of the Red Sail War.
Oh, for the NRC. Yes,
that's right.
Of course, yes. I knew that. Yeah, I was just testing that. So, but it's not the break. We're going to lead up to it.
Yes.
Okay. So, we're going to have a pre-war build-up summary in the actual campaign pack, but we're going to tell some stories about how we all got there and the patrons and other significant players. How did we get to where we are? Because the Red Sail War is the war that intercedes the campaign that we're going to play out starting at the beginning of the new year, kicking off the beginning of the new year, is that conflict.
Right.
Primarily between the kingdoms of Haradel and Falkar over the Inner Sea.
Yeah.
And we're going to lead up to it. I'm going to lead up to it using Hollow as the vehicle to do that.
Right. And my story for Hollow Rush is also going to be leading up to it, but it's going to be leading up to it from the point of view of the Urtigar, who are on the northern shore of the Inner Sea. So for every year, we do something special for Hollow Rush, which is the Bailonian winter solstice. And we always tell stories or do some sort of a lore thing for that. That's been our modus operandi the last few years. And this year, we thought it'd just be a really good idea to lead into the Inner Sea.
Right.
Because that's our next big thing. And lore-wise, there's a lot of ground that we can cover. So why not just go ahead and kick that off with some great stories and get people amped and prepped for that?
I was thinking about, and probably will put a couple of Easter eggs, foreshadowings in the stories that might lead you to conclusions about which way to go when you're fighting your battles in the Inner Sea. Nothing vital that you can't win without it, but a little bonus here and there. Because what's going to happen is the Inner Sea campaign, we did a podcast on this earlier, at the end, the players will have built up influence to establish the post-war world.
Right. Let's save that thought, because we're going to talk about that in just a second.
Sword, hard drive. Beep.
Yeah, so this Hollow Rush is going to lead out or end out our 2024.
Right.
And then we're going to start 2025 with a bang, like on the 5th of January. We're going to start the Inner Sea campaign. Mm-hmm. And this is going to change the way we play Freeblades quite a bit. And can you talk about how that's going to?
You mean because we're adding the sea component?
Because they're ships.
Yeah, right. So we have there's a set of playtest rules on Discord for Seablades, which is putting your Freeblades models on small craft.
Right.
Now, one of the tricks is, yes, it's true. There's some great models out there in the world of ships at 28 millimeter scale that are 2-3 feet long. If you're playing on a Freeblades table, the ship makes one 12-inch move, and you're done.
It stops. Running around.
But we're here to give our players what they want. So there's going to be a scenario or two in there where you're fighting over the big ship.
Nice.
Right? But your Freeband does not need, the HMS Hood, the galleon, the Spanish galleon, to be able to be effective. It's smaller craft, getting your Freeblades to the island.
Right.
To where the treasure is, to shoot at each other with bows and arrows. The bigger ship fleet game is going to come later.
Right. Okay? Looking forward to that too.
And we have, in the Seablades rules, we have how to convert your ships to, how this works, what their rules are, what their cost value is, what they do for you in the game. Mm-hmm. And nobody's making anybody buy ships.
Right.
Right. Borrow them from friends. Use a Pathfinder or D&D ship template.
Right.
Make one yourself.
Sure.
On a 1-inch grid, whatever you want to do, we will take that and we will give you the point value for it.
Yeah.
Right. So don't go out and think you have to buy anything extra if you don't want to. If you want to, great, but
Right. And just as an instance of this, my force is an Urtigar force that I'm building for the Inner Sea, and I have 3 medium-sized canoes for them. So not a large ship,
right?
Some danger of turning over pretty quickly, but something manageable on the tabletop.
Yeah, and to be able to go multiple places at the same time instead of everybody has to go to one place. Right. It's not a bad idea, right? But that's the small raid is what you're doing. It's not 2 battleships. It's not Curse of the Black Pearl. So that comes later. We promise we'll give that to you, but it's not this game.
Sink the Bismarck.
Yeah, but there will be a game where you're fighting over a ghost ship.
Right.
And the big model that you have, you can use for that. Right.
Awesome. Yeah. So it's also going to change the Inner Sea campaign. It's going to change the way that our community interacts in campaigns.
Yes.
And that comes down to the very end. So let's just talk real quick about
those.
that.
Yeah, those we're not releasing those rules right now in this podcast, but basically you are assigned to a side. You are fighting for Harriedale or fighting for Falcar. There are some rules for unaligned folks that are going to kind of pick their place, so they might be able to tip the scales, but they're also not able to get the larger bit of influence like somebody who's chosen a side. So if you want to go in there and like throw your weight behind somebody at the last minute because you kind of play both sides along the way, fine. It's not going to be a significant amount, but it could be the difference, right?
Sure.
Or you're Harriedale or Falcar, and you get big chunks when you win games, accomplish missions, capture ships. The bigger the capture, the better. And basically accomplish the objectives of the scenario. Also, we're not making anybody to play Seablades either.
Right.
Every campaign block, there'll be an alternative land-based scenario if that's what you want to do. It's totally okay. You still get to play at the end as part of the post-war conference, the peace conference that sets the table for how that part of the world's going to look. And that's really the impact. The players are going to have, obviously the side that generates more influence is going to have more impact.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
The next big thing that we're doing is going to be Adepticon towards the end of March. And my gosh, it's moved this year. We're in Milwaukee. It's a whole new ball game for everybody. But one thing we can say, I think, without reservation is it's going to be big.
Yes.
Very, very big. Adepticon for us, more bang for your buck as a hobbyist, as a seller there, as a merchant there. I mean, it's a fantastic, fantastic convention. And if you can make it, we're going to make it worth your while. There's going to be a lot of stuff that's going on. What do we got going on?
We have the largest number of different custom terrain built participation games than we've ever done.
That's awesome.
So one of the things, we have a long association with Adepticon, so we're on the list of people that get to load our events early.
Right.
So we've actually already loaded our events for Adepticon, and it's less slotted demos and more participation games. And those participation games are themed, and the terrain is all being custom built for them.
Yeah.
So it's a story. They're all encounters games.
Right.
So you don't have to, you can show up and you don't have to bring a lot of models to that event.
And we're going to have the models there.
If you don't want to, if you want to just jump in and grab something,
yeah.
You have a friend that wants to jump in and grab something. And then there will be some demo slots that are already slotted on the schedule, but also there'll be tables there where we can sit you down and teach somebody a full game.
Yes.
If they want more than just a demo that Julie gives in the booth.
Right.
But more seats than any of these conventions we've done, and more different ways, different stories, I think is the way to say it, right?
Right.
Some more games. It's just more better games. So, and we've had a thing where we've had these slotted demos and people are joining them that have already played the game for 5 years. But, you're taking a demo slot. Let's just sit the newer player down and give them a full game or part of a full game if they want one, and then use the team to give more story-based games to the players. That's what we're doing.
And just because it's not a demo doesn't mean that we won't teach during that game.
Right. No.
One of the great things about encounters is there's always people around that have played, and they can bring you along if you're a new player. So don't hesitate when these schedules come out and you go to sign up for games at Adepticon. Don't hesitate to jump in those. They're going to be a ton of fun. And if you don't know the rules or don't know the rules well, not a problem.
Right.
We're gonna take care of that.
And that effort culminates in the North American Championship Tournament.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay. We have that'll be the final event of the Victory on the Wing tournament pack season.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of that, people will get we'll reveal what the next season's rules are. We're working on that in the background because we don't have enough to do. Right. 4 rounds on Saturday, except you play 3 rounds for a cut to 8 Saturday late afternoon.
Right.
And that will cut to 4, and then there'll be a, semifinal, final Sunday morning. Okay.
Awesome.
So if you are one of the top 8 and you are successful, you will play a 4th game on Saturday. If you're not, the rest of your Saturday is free to go over to the dealer area and buy the crap out of our new faction we're selling.
I was just going to say.
Sucked it in. That wasn't very sneaky, actually. I bludgeoned that in. And then if you're one of the 4 that win those games Saturday evening, then you go on and play Sunday morning for all the glory.
Right.
Somebody needs to take Roger down, right? I mean, I'm getting tired. I'm really, really tired of him. So much as I like him, I'm still tired of his smugness.
His smug eclipse.
Jaeger. I can't do it. I saw my competitive outlet is a different game because I'm a Freeblades designer. So it's got to be one of you people. Jaeger thinks it's him. That's great. I approve that message. As long as it's not Potter, I'm good. He's got enough coins. We have to invent another coin for him, or we need to get Chris Jackson back next.
Oh yeah, right.
So anyway, yes,
That's
moving
awesome.
on. 32 players. We will go beat up Matt and Hank for more seats if we have a significant wait list.
Absolutely.
We're going to start with 32.
And we always do we've got the games going on, but there's also some social stuff that we do during these times. So if you're a Patreon subscriber, we always go out to dinner, and we'll continue that. There's always a lot of ways to hang out with us during Adepticon because it's just such a loose, fun, low impact environment.
Yep.
And we love that. And let's reiterate again that there will be a new faction for sale at Adepticon. I'm not going to reveal anything than that. Yeah, currently, that's right. I figured that's what those were.
Are those renders starting to show up on Patreon? I wasn't tracking
the concept art has started to show up on Patreon. So they've seen two.
Some of the subscriber levels already know what we're talking
know what we're talking about, right? And it's just going to get deeper as we go. Okay. So, all right. So let's talk near future. The next big event after that is going to be Gen Con.
Yes.
And Gen Con is going to broaden the world of Phalon.
We believe until the thing is in production, it's hard to say.
Right.
But we're talking about right now, right?
Yep.
We are targeting Gen Con for the release of our first board game.
Right.
In partnership with a superior person and also super fan, Brandon Burns.
Yeah.
The designer of Tyradym Gold and Steel. Tyradym, for those of you who are lore-based, is the free city sitting between Corona and Felkar. And you are a patron playing a deck builder game.
Right.
But we're going to roll right from this podcast and do a playtest of it.
That's right.
The game's designed. It's a working design. We're just tweaking the edges. I mean, it really plays well.
We're in the later stages of playtesting on that.
Yeah, we have a publisher. We are gathering the art. We are working on how we're going to put it into distribution, and we want to have, if we are successful, an extremely happy, probably needs to be on some kind of, suppressant medication. Brandon will be in the booth at Gen Con giving demos of this board game.
I don't know about the press, and I'm going to give him some uppers, and he's just going to go 24/7.
Extra special shot, Launch him into low orbit. Boo, okay. So if we're successful, and then Tyradym, the reason the base game is called Gold and Steel is because there will be expansions.
Right.
You play a patron. You are manipulating gold and influence to be the most powerful in the free city.
Yeah.
And a deck builder mechanics, core deck builder mechanics.
Yeah. One of the things that I want to ask you about, because we've been talking about it internally recently, is how Tyradym Gold and Steel is affecting the rest of Phalon. Because we just went back and took a second look at our patrons.
Yes.
Because of that.
Right. Okay. So that's a great thing, Matt, you just asked. So the, as you know, Bob, the world anvil where we're storing our lore is currently all over the map. Right?
It's crazy.
We've got things we need to tighten up. We keep throwing things in there, and it needs a better set of linkages. This needs to be better. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the patrons for Inner C and the patrons that go into the core box of Tyradym Gold and Steel correct for both games.
Right.
So that we can start. We have patrons where there's art, there's no art, there's a Freeblades rule, there's not a Freeblades rule, there's a Freeblades rule from an old campaign that conflicts with this other thing. It's kind of a mess, and we're sorting it out.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we launch Inner C, that set of patrons that play in Inner C, 12 of them, 10, 12 of them, will all have been resolved, sorted out, background, articles all look the same, multiple linkages to the rest of the database, and they will be described and have their art appear in the campaign book. And then we'll do the same with the 6 that come in Teardown Gold and Steel. They get a patron card, has their art, whatever. They will enter the other games in the system as well with the rules that are appropriate for those games, like Freeblades.
Right.
And then we'll start catching up with the other patrons that start in neither, but will be added to both. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Other patrons out there that don't appear in Intercede, don't appear in the core board games. We're going to expand the crap out of it.
We are.
There's all kinds of, Brandon's already rolling expansions at me.
Yes.
And they're cool because they add a couple of patrons that can do the same things you can do in the core board game, and then another gubbins, like the C-based version gives you some port stuff.
Right.
Because the Free City is a port. Is a war version with some war stuff, but not just influence, but also some combat. So these other things that are coming in there, and those patrons, as they get resolved, the patron list will expand, and you'll be able to play them in whatever. Are they an NPC in Brightsword? Do they run hire your free band and Freeblades to give you a bonus? Are they a patron card in your Teardown game with whatever supplements you're playing,
right? And
whatever deck they bring into the game? That's a pretty massive undertaking, but it's well underway. So that's the thing right now I'm doing the most work on.
Right. And that's a cool thing, because that's an example of how one addition to our world is touching off all these other changes and tightening everything up.
Are we going to do we haven't talked Banners Over Phalon on the podcast, have we?
We have not.
Okay, we need to put that down because we're running a little low on the time that's left, but the answer to the question, how do they all integrate, has to talk about that project. Right. So
right.
We should do
and
that later.
We'll do that.
We're just teasing you now, but we'll do it later. So.
Speaking of teasing, a lot of stuff going on, but is there anything else in the future that you want to tease today that we're working on that's going to be impacting folks in the next year or so?
Well, for one thing, the new faction, right? If you look at attacking somebody with a melee attack, shooting someone with a range attack, casting a spell, or doing a perform skill, the new faction brings a 5th core skill.
Ooh.
At that level, not
right.
like thievery or hunt.
Right.
They're currently called primary skills. It's kind of confusing people, so we're going to give it a new name.
Sure.
But that level of thing, and then of course your kind of secondary abilities that support that are another component of the character, of the model, whatever game you're playing in. There's going to be a 5th one. That is the nature of these folks.
Awesome. And do you mind if I tease a little project that maybe Mr. Newell dropped off the other day?
Sure. Yeah. No, sure.
So there's, first of all, for the Intercede, we have all new art for those patrons.
Right. By Neo.
By Neo. And it's fantastic.
Yep.
Can't wait to show some of that to y'all. But then the other day, our good friend Aaron Newell dropped off the beginnings of
contract employee. You said good friend, but you misspelled contract. He's also a good friend.
Yes.
To somebody somewhere. No, he's
we love you, Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron's a graphic designer that we have hired. He's also friends with ours, big time, very close friend. Graphic designer that is redoing the layout and the rebranding of our games.
Right.
And the way the rule books will be presented, because we're going to put all of these, we're going to put Teardown into distribution first.
Right.
The Freeblades will go back. Brightsword will come out in distribution, et cetera, et cetera. And that needs a 2-player starter set. That needs a rule book that's actually a physical rule book.
Right.
Living rule book's not going anywhere. You'll always be able to get that. You'll get it for free once you buy it.
Yeah.
But to have a physical rule book with the layout that matches and just cleans it up, and makes it and that is attached to the streamlining project,
right?
Which we're not going into a lot of detail right now.
No.
In terms of, you won't see it, right? You won't see it at 24.3 or 25.1 probably. You'll see it sometime after.
Right. So. Awesome. Well, as John said, we are running low on time. We want to thank everybody for hanging out with us today.
Thank you, everybody.
And we want to encourage you again to drop some questions in the Discord channel for the Sleeping Grush. We're going to pick one of your questions and answer it at the end of our podcast each time. So if you have a question, as John said, a big why question for the world of Phalon, be sure to drop that in the Discord channel. And
there's something I want to say about that real quick.
No, go for it, John.
So we had a player, it's a great person, we know him real well, asked a why question recently, like the last 24 hours, and I answered it. But I was thinking about, being snarky and saying, "Oh, go to Sleeping Grush and ask us so we can answer it in the podcast." So, but it made me think, because part of the answer was a podcast we'd already done, a podcast episode we'd already done.
Right.
Could we take a note tonight to maybe look at putting a list in a pin? I'll do it. I got a pen back there. To look at putting on the Sleeping Rush podcast channel on Discord, a pin at the beginning. There's a list of the core things we talked about in each episode.
Yeah, we can.
So if someone has a question, because his question was completely answered by one of our episodes.
Right, right.
So why go over it all again?
Sure.
Hey, go listen to it. It's awesome. Or that might remind them that, oh yeah, I remember hearing that. Whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So
it's another resource. But yeah, those are the kinds of questions we really do want to have a couple to answer here. And so I might have to go, sorry, we're going to wait till the podcast.
Let's answer that.
Yeah. If it was like 2 or 3, I would have picked one for that.
Right.
And said, answer the rest. This is the one we want to do because we want more people to have the answer, whatever the reason.
Yeah.
So.
All right, folks. Thank you all for hanging out with us. And until next time, we'll see you around the table.
Sil Sakava.